Basically, it's a tournament where all the best players in the world from different countries and everything come in the same room and play the game that we all love.
I am Jace Belair.
And I am Stoneforge Mystic.
It's just a really amazing game.
That's just mind-boggling to even think about.
I guess the rest is history.
I'm Adam Prosak and I'm playing Dredge today at the Legacy Open here in Cincinnati. This is probably the graveyard deck of the format. This deck wants to play almost exclusively from the graveyard. Every card interacts with the graveyard in some way. There's a set of cards that let you discard cards, a set of cards that dredge, and then a bunch of cards that are played from their graveyard. And then some lands and some mana source, and that's the whole deck. Basically, yeah, your goal, you have 15 cards. You have Putrid Imp, Careful Study, Breakthrough, and the new Dark Ascension card, Faithless Looting, gives you 15 ways to discard cards on turn 1 easily. You also have 4 Lion's Eye Diamonds, which in a pinch, you can just discard your hand and start dredging. Lion's Eye Diamond was a take it or leave it card before Dark Ascension, but the synergy with Faithless Looting is just amazing. It's not uncommon to play a turn 1 land, then a Lion's Eye Diamond, play a Faithless Looting, in response, crack your Lion's Eye Diamond, discard a Dredger. So that way you'll be able to both cast and flashback Faithless Looting on turn 1 and dredge with all 4 draws. So you could have 20 plus cards in your graveyard on turn 1 very easily with just as simple as land, Faithless Looting, Lion's Eye Diamond, and any Dredger. The Dredgers are pretty standard issue. Golgari Grave-Troll, Stinkweed Imp, Golgari Thug, and I have a single Darkblast. The cards that interact with the graveyard, the primary one is Narcomoeba. If you mill it into your graveyard, it comes into play. Ichorid also does the same thing, but it does it on your upkeep, so you don't get it right away. Once you have those creatures in play, you use them to either cast Cabal Therapy or Dread Return. And then when you sack the creatures, you get zombie tokens with Bridge from Below. The Dread Return, either target is a big Golgari Grave-Troll or a Flame-Kin Zealot, which will give all your zombies haste and is generally lethal. And I've always wanted to play Dredge in an open. I think the deck's very powerful. Faithless Looting is a huge upgrade. You always wanted more Careful Studies. Even without flashback, I think Careful Study is one of the best cards in the deck. And just to have access to 8 of them is phenomenal. Even if it costs like a new color, red, 10 of your 14 lands are rainbow lands. You have City of Breast, Gemstone Mine, and 2 Undiscovered Paraidse. Your other 4 lands are Cephalid Coliseums. But Faithless Looting is just a huge upgrade to the deck. The flashback is just gravy, justifies Lion's Eye Diamond. The deck can be really, really fast. Game 1s are good matchups, games 2 and 3 are bad matchups. A lot of it depends on how much graveyard hate your opponent has and what kind it is. As sideboard, I'm actually incapable of being a Leyline of the board. Anybody that plays a black Leyline, I concede. You really have anemic beatdown. Stinkweed Imp is a 1/2 flyer for 3 mana. Golgari Thug is a 1/1 for 2 mana. Putrid Imp is a 1/1 for 1 mana. Narcomoeba is a 1/1 flyer for 2 mana. This deck operates completely out of the graveyard, so very unlikely that you'll win without using your graveyard. Alright, so I have 4 Leylines of my own, 4 Leyline of the Void. I have 3 reanimation targets. I have an Angel of Despair, an Elesh Norn, and an Iona. I have the 2 Ancient Grudges I mentioned. I have a couple cards that are just like to tweak the tune to deck. Darkblast, Breakthrough, and Ichorid. Breakthrough is better in your combo matchups when you need to go as fast as you can. Ichorid and Darkblast are for the slower matchups when you need a bunch of dredgers. Darkblast also has the upside of being a removal spell as well. And then the final cards are another dredge enabler, Firestorm. You choose and discard X cards when you cast it. Firestorm deals X damage to each of those targets. So if you discard 3 targets, you could be like, all right, get 3 to that creature, 3 to that creature, and 3 to you. It's a way to discard a bunch of cards and wipe their board in general. The only thing I don't like about it is if you Firestorm and discard a Bridge from Below, that Bridge from Below will get removed. That's the only real drawback, but it buys you a ton of time against a lot of decks, and it's a fail-safe way to discard cards. I think when they printed Dredge, they intended it to be a drawback. They want you to recast the card that you dredge. If you dredge a card, they want you to replay the card, as opposed to just using dredge as like a breaking a rule of the game type of. It is a rule-breaking mechanic, and it's not like what they want Magic to be. They want Magic to be about creature combat, but I think in hindsight they shouldn't have printed it. But that's part of Magic's appeal, is playing with cards that were just mistakes and shouldn't have been printed. And you know, Legacy is filled with all these like weird cards that they would never print today. You just get to do all these rule-breaking things. It's not like a carefully constructed set of cards that we're playing with. You really need to know the mechanics of your deck. You don't necessarily need to know how it interacts with all the cards. Like, there's certain cards you'd want to interact with, like Tormod's Crypt requires some practice, but like I'd say get the basic mechanics of like you need a dredger, a way to discard it, and that's about it. Like in some lanes, maybe a land, but it is incredibly powerful. You know, fun to play. Like a lot of people don't like playing against it because it's a lot of stuff going on that the opponent doesn't get to interact with. But it's a fun deck, and I'd say like know how your deck operates, and that's pretty much the gist of it. You can't really play this in, you know, standard or anything like that. It doesn't operate the same way. It's one of Legacy's like defining aspects. Like there's certain decks that are only possible in Legacy, and this is one of them.